Hi everybody and welcome to the Mental Toughness and Body Show. My name is Rob Evans and I'm your weight loss coach, health strategist and internationally published author, helping take your life, your mindset, your business, your body, your health from where you are right now to where it is that you want to be. And today we're going to talk about the challenge. We all face challenges from time to time, and I'm going to tell you what my challenge is as I walk you through these 5 steps that I've found work really well to overcoming any challenge. So let me walk you through the steps one by one, and then I'll tell you what my particular challenge is. So the first point is, okay, you've got this challenge. So you want to pull it apart a bit and say, well, what's the issue with it? What's going on? So that you can really understand how big a challenge that this is. So the one that's facing me right now is still in lockdown, and the reality for me is that I spend most of the day in my office. I spend time in my studio when I'm coaching people and running sessions and so forth. I spend time in my kitchen preparing food and being with the kids and stuff, and then I spend time in my bedroom sleeping. And that's it. I'm allowed 1 hour, up to 1 hour of exercise outside a day, and that's it. So my issue is that I'm getting a little bit bored of my surroundings. And that might sound inconsequential, but because we're now 6 months into tight restrictions and lockdown, that starts to have impacts that spin off into other areas of your life. So that can impact my own health and wellness. It can impact dramatically the body transformation that I'm working towards this year. It can have a big impact on my productivity and outputs from a business perspective as well. Now, this is very easy time to be kicking back and saying, oh, well, I'll just wait for all this to be over. But that could be years. And I'm running a business and I'm trying to grow the business. So I can't afford to do that, and this is an opportunity to be using any extra time that you do have to be growing things and preparing for when things reopen. And so I'm finding that I'm getting bored, I'm bored with my surroundings, I should say, and it is having an impact on my outputs. And so that's my main issue, okay? It's having an impact on my productivity, and I'm feeling a little bit flat from being in the same environment constantly. So that's my issue. So step 2 about your challenge, brainstorming a strategy to deal with your issue. That's a logical thing to do, don't you think? Let's brainstorm all the different things that you can come up with to address the challenge that you're facing. So what I did yesterday was, because it kind of hit me a little bit yesterday, because I've been really good. If you look at the outputs that I've been producing, I've been extremely productive over this lockdown. But yesterday it started to just accumulate on me. So I brainstormed and think, okay, so what are some ways of dealing with this? And I thought, well, in the old pre-COVID days, what I would do is I'd jump in the car and I would go and travel to the gym, and I would do a workout in the gym. So away from my studio, away from my home, different environment, more people. I get to, take my mind somewhere else as I'm driving. And the other thing that I would previously do is I'd be dropping the kids off at school. I'd also be driving back home. I'd be picking them up again. So there'd be a number of trips through the day where I'm traveling, I'm outside, I'm looking at different things, I'm away from my office and home and studio and everywhere else, and it's just a different type of interaction. So obviously I can't do those things at the moment. So I thought, okay, one of the things I need to do is get out more. I thought I need to get out of my home more. So I'm only allowed to travel 5 kilometers from home at the moment. And I'm only allowed to travel to the shops once a day, and I'm only allowed to exercise once a day up to an hour outside. So I thought, okay, I've got to make sure that I spend more time maybe taking up my full hour, going out for my walk and doing that. I thought, well, maybe I need to get in the car and just go for a bit of a drive every day. Maybe even if I'm not going to the shops, maybe I just need to go for a bit of a drive. I know I can only go 5 kilometres, but maybe I just need to jump in the car and get in the car and go for a drive. Maybe I need to go to the shops each day, even if I'm just picking up one thing on my way through for a walk or something like that. Maybe I just need to get out and do that. The other thing I thought about is, well, what else can I do? Well, I can get outside in my front yard, I can get outside in my backyard, I can do things like that. So I thought, okay, well, so today's a gorgeous day, but we're heading in for some poor weather over the next few days. Maybe I need to start spending a little bit more time in my garden. So I love my garden. Spring is here, so maybe I could tidy up the veggie garden, get ready to plant some things in there, look at maybe doing some other plantings, doing that kind of stuff. And plant some more herbs. I'm looking at the herb garden out there. It looks a bit ratty. Like doing things that fill me up, excite me, and just, even though I'm close to the house, I'm outside of my normal environment. So then I thought about, okay, well, maybe I need to rejig my routine a little bit because I spend so many hours at my desk. Maybe what I need to do is break that up a little bit. And yeah, I'm doing my workouts, but that's in the studio, and I normally do those at the same time. Maybe what I need to do is break up some of the other tasks that I do during the day and do them at different times. And then I thought, okay, what's something else I could do? All right, maybe I need to do some work on my laptop in a different part of the house. Maybe it's in the kitchen, maybe it's on the couch, maybe it's outside, undercover, as long as I can still see the screen, or taking a notepad outside, my notebook, and just writing some notes and getting some creative space and doing that. So you got the idea. I was just spitballing a whole range of different things that are going to allow me to look at things differently, even though I'm in the same environment. So then step 3 is about acting fast. So you can't come up with a strategy to your challenge and then just not implement, because the challenge is just going to remain there. So we want to act as soon as we can. So what I did yesterday was I said, right, I need to do something immediately because I'm going a bit bananas here and I can feel that my productivity is slipping away. So I thought, okay, I've got a few things that I need to do around the house. So let's do those things now at a time when I wouldn't normally. I'd normally do them at the end of the day or at the start of the day. And I thought, I'm going to do them now. It was like the middle of the day. I thought, let me do them now. It'll break up my day, give me a break, give my brain a bit of a rest. And so I did that. And then that meant I didn't have to do it at the end of the night because I wasn't looking forward to doing that. And then I had a few phone calls to make and I thought, okay, why don't I do them outside? So normally I'm walking around in the studio. I thought it was a nice day yesterday. Let's sit out on the banana lounge and have conduct my meetings that way. So that's what I did. And then I thought, okay, well, what else can I do? And I thought, well, okay, today, normally I cut the grass on the weekend, for instance. And I didn't cut it last week because I didn't need it. And I thought, well, okay, why don't I cut it today? Because tomorrow and the weekend it's supposed to get a lot of rain here, and it's a beautiful day today. So I thought, why don't I do it today, break up my day, Actually, I'm going to do it at the last part of the day, so before the sun goes down. And so having a break from work early, do that, have a shower, have some food, and then go back and do a couple of hours walk before I finish for the night. And I mean, it's not a big job. It only takes me about, well, if I do the edges and everything, it probably takes me about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and then it's done. And again, it just breaks up my day a little bit. I haven't had to leave home. I'm here, but I'm just doing something different. So again, I was just planning what I can do today, what I can do over the next few days to kind of snap myself out of what I'm going through at the moment, because I just need to sprinkle some more variety in there because it's driving me a little bit batty at the moment. Step 4 is about testing it, measuring it, adjusting, and repeating. So in other words, these are all conceptual at this point. So yesterday, it worked well for me because I did those things in a time that I wouldn't normally do them. I did them. I was then able to go back to my desk later more refreshed, more energized, and I felt like, wow, that was almost like a caffeine shot. It felt really good. So I thought, yeah, nice. I feel like I haven't been getting enough sun on my face. I haven't been outdoors. We haven't had a lot of sun, but the last few days we have. So just getting out and enjoying that is really important. So this morning I went for an early morning walk, get some sun on my face, record my other podcast, and just in taking some time out to plan my day, do some strategizing. So that was good. So measuring it, well, that was what I just mentioned about, okay, so I mixed up my routine a bit. Measuring it was I went back to my desk and felt like, wow, yeah, that actually really worked, because now I'm really productive and focused, whereas previously I was just like, man, this is being such a drag. Now, as I implement over the next few days, if there's something where I think, do you know what, I need to adjust that, whether it's the time that I do things or it's the things that I'm doing, then that's really important, and then to just re-implement. So we can't just come up with a great idea, what we think is a great idea, put it in place, but it's not really working, or we're not testing it to see, okay, is this working? You're asking the questions, is it working? Is it working? No, it's not. Let's tweak it a little bit. Let's re-implement it. So adjust it and just repeat that process until you get to the right outcome that you want. So have you completely addressed your challenge? And then step 5 is, what have you learned from this? Where's the growth? What's the opportunity through this to learn in addressing other challenges? I mean, we go through life doing things that we think are right for us. We often don't stop to ask ourselves, are we actually doing the right thing? We just get stuck as an entrepreneur in doing the same things over and over and over because maybe they work a bit, but maybe there's a way of doing it differently. There's another part of my nutrition business where I work with the team all around the world, and we had a meeting on Tuesday night, and I asked a probing question, and it got a number of the people thinking about how they would respond to that. And they reached out to me the next day and said, I've been awake all night thinking about the question that you asked, and this is what I think you should do, and et cetera, et cetera. And because I said that was my challenge, that was the challenge I was facing at the moment. I was kind of torn as to when I work on this part of the business, when I work on this part of the business. And when I asked that question, I mean, it's easy not to ask questions, isn't it? It's easy to just think, oh, well, I'll just keep pushing through. I'll just keep battling this. But sometimes you've got to have the courage to ask a question, and ask a good question. Ask a good question of yourself, but also of your coaches. And don't be afraid, because we can often feel like we're going to look stupid if we ask a dumb question. Well, there's not really any dumb questions. I mean, any question that you ask, you're going to learn something from it. And that's the key part. And what I learned from the exercise of asking that question was the way that I'm approaching the two separate parts of my business is I'm approaching them as two separate parts to my business. But in reality, they're one and the same. I just don't look at it that way. So what that required for me was just this slight shift in my thinking. Nothing else apart from a slight shift in my thinking about how I think about those two parts of my business. And if I approach it as just being one, then even though you might be addressing two separate parts, you're actually doing it through the same process that you do right now. You're just tackling it a little bit differently. And sometimes you can get in a place where you feel immobilized because of the questions or statements or challenges that you put to yourself. And so, like for me, I would allocate some time each day to work on this nutrition side of my business. But when I would see it pop up in my calendar, it would kind of make me cringe a little bit and think, oh, gee, I don't really want to work on that because I see it as a separate part of my business. And if I work on this part of my business, I know that I can grow that one because that's where I've got the confidence, I've got the results, so I can work on that now and keep growing that. Whereas this other one, I seem to be putting in a lot of energy and it doesn't seem to be growing. But the reality is that if I just approached it as one part of my business, I would take more action and I would grow both. And it got me to think about, well, where is the evidence that that's true? And I thought, well, actually, when I was taking a lot more action around, what it is that I do in terms of providing a health and fitness solution for people, when I've done that in the past, I've noticed that my client base has increased overall. Without me really thinking about it, I might have reached out to them for one thing, say for the nutrition side, but they haven't necessarily gone fully down that path where I've wanted them to go, but they've actually come in as a different type of client. And it's like, oh wow, that is actually more valuable to me than what I was originally planning to do. So the evidence is there that if I just change my thinking and approach this in a slightly different way, then I'm going to get much better outcomes. So that's what I've started to do now. So I'm now, when I get to that objective of scheduled work each day, I'm relabeling it as something else so that I discontinue the association I have with the word, and let's just say it was, let's just say I said nutrition business. Rather than do that, what I'm going to do is change it to something else that is, I haven't decided what it is yet, but change it to something else that's like, connecting with clients or, building relationships. I'll probably change it to that, relationship building, something like that. And then that has a different connotation to it. And that will give me a different outcome. And so that makes it exciting for me because I think, yeah, I can make that work. That feels really good. It sits well with me. But all of that only came about by asking a question and then to the challenge that I had, to then people presenting different options. And through those discussions, a light bulb went off in me to say, well, yeah, that doesn't make sense of why you're doing it that way. You need to think about it this way. So I guess that part goes to the test, measuring, adjusting, repeating, and let's just see how that goes over the next few days for me, if that's working, and keep implementing. So what have I learned from that? Really important to ask questions. Really important to not be afraid to perhaps look vulnerable, because you don't always need to have the answers, as I've said before. Really important. So I think that's a really powerful little exercise that you can do with any challenge that you're facing. We, as entrepreneurs, we have to do a lot by ourselves. It can be a very lonely, isolating place to be as an entrepreneur sometimes. And we often just get stuck with the same challenge and not knowing how to address it properly. So just to recap, you've got a challenge. Step one, what's the issue or issues that are facing you? Write them all down. This is really powerful if you write them down. Grab a notepad, write them all down. What's the issue? Brainstorm some ideas. Brainstorm a strategy for overcoming the challenge. Give yourself 7 minutes. Set a timer for 7 minutes and just write. Don't try and analyze anything, just write them down. Even if they're stupid, write them down, because it's from stupid ideas that the answer may come. So just write. The next step, act fast. Pick the ones that you can do immediately. Step 4, test these things that you're implementing, measure them, make any adjustments, and just repeat the process until you get what you want. And then step 5 is stepping back, analysing and say, so what have you learned from this? How can you apply the methodology you've adopted to other areas of your life, other challenges that you're facing, so that you maybe don't face the same challenge again, or when you do, you know how to deal with it properly. So it's a good little guide that I use, really helps. So wherever you are in the world today, you stay safe, and I will see you tomorrow. You want to work with me more closely, don't forget, go to thementaltoughnessandbodyshow.com, scroll to the bottom, click on the link, you can opt in for a free consultation. Would love to connect with you wherever you are in the world. I'll see you tomorrow. Stay safe.